Hi. Today I wanted to talk to you about one subject concerning this current crisis that's been um, looked at quite sympathetically by a lot of people, which is to say that the migration of labor across the country. We've seen harrowing scenes of people trying to get back to their homes and families um, in the last few weeks, and that poses a question to me as a member of the design community who has or is employing labor in various categories in what would be called small or medium-sized enterprises. So let's say if I were to talk about carpentry and furniture making, which is one of my activities, I spoke to the karigars in my workshop who are still safe here because we work from the village, so they haven't yet migrated. But I said that the next time, before anything like this happens, I would like to see to it that you all are closer to home than me. And from this sentiment, we got around to talking that India is still based on regional specialities, and the skilled labor also comes from certain regions, certain communities and castes, and therefore whenever you want to get good work done, you have to get people from those states and those villages into where you want to run workshops or small units. So I was talking to them and saying that if the carpenters are mainly coming from Rajasthan and a few of them from Gujarat and those areas, can we not shift our own production base closer to their home, which is like a triangle of not more than half a day's travel by road? It would keep them centered with their own families, their own communities, and also primarily their own farming, because all the karigars who come to work in different workshops are basically from agrarian families. It's just that agriculture hasn't paid off, and people have moved in search of augmenting incomes. But their parents, their wives, even neighbors are pitching in with each other and helping their farming activities go. When I was talking to them about how much money they would need to survive in this crisis, they said that, well, most of us seem to benefit from the fact that our families are still in agriculture. So, one basic grain, whether we are in the rice producing or wheat producing or, pulse producing region, we have that main commodity. So we need to get very little from outside. And I feel that in the last 20 or 30 years that we brought in people from the villages into the cities, it was convenient for the designers, managers, entrepreneurs to be located where they were. And since these people were willing to travel, they came cheap, we said, okay, why not bring them where we are, because we'll manage the business better. But when they come here, they end up in slums and in crowded communities, and look where we are now. In a small way to solve this, I thought of taking the whole lot of them and myself and moving from Bombay to Alibag, so that generally everybody would get more space and a better sort of relaxed life even at work. It worked, and we're all safe here, and there's no virus anywhere around us. So that part of it is okay. But the next time, I was told that even if in a week or so, if the government starts giving freedom to reopen smaller workshops, especially where people can live within them and work, I was told by the karigars that we are not happy to start work immediately, because we felt so vulnerable and emotionally so separated from our loved ones that once we just want to go back home. And when we heal, we will come back to work, which may take 2 months. So in my own specific perspective at work, I'm trying to share perhaps with not just the Insta friends that I have, but perhaps if they can also discuss this with friends in the design community, you know, like fashion or furniture, because the handicraft community has organized itself very well in India. So especially because a lot of them have been relying on exports. So they've used all the production centers. So, you know, each little village, especially in the north, around Delhi, Haryana, UP, or going down to Rajasthan, has pockets of people who do ironmongery, people who do carpentry, people who do textiles and brass and glass. And by virtue of that, those towns have become production centers, and their labor doesn't need to migrate or move out of their villages. Now, when they stay in their villages, the biggest help is that they give some time at least to farming. A country as populated as ours, can we just afford to not to look at our requirements of food? And if by keeping the migrant labor in their base, they can attend to their fields, and my staff told me that even if they can help their parents for 2 hours in the morning, say from 6 to 8, they are saying that a lot of the day's farming work is achieved. Now, this would keep them mentally also more balanced, emotionally happier to live with their wives, children, and contribute to farming, and all work within these pockets of spaces, like the handicraft sector. Now, the way handicraft exporters have their offices in Noida and Delhi and, you know, in Jaipur and in bigger towns, and they have buyers visiting them, and otherwise all the work gets done from the local craft villages. Perhaps I was thinking that even for a thing like fashion, which I dabbled in a few years ago, if I would have had my unit, or the tailoring or the garment unit, let's say somewhere in UP, I would have got my textiles from Banaras and the surrounding areas. I would have got embroiders from Lucknow. I would have got tailors, accomplished Muslim tailors, all from UP. And when you hire them locally, your production cost is low, your rentals for your workshop, etc. are low. You don't have to give them extra allowances. Like for each person that I keep here, whether it's Bombay or Alibag, I do end up paying for his rental and his food and everything, because, you know, in a way he behaves like an expat. So you have to give him all those hardship allowances, which he doesn't need if he's there. So your production cost comes down, and it serves a much larger purpose. So I just wanted to throw this across and say that for people who run workshops and these kind of labor-centric work, I'm not talking of construction and bigger things where, you know, people, the labor still has to go to the site, but for even a small percentage of industries that can be run this way, perhaps the government could offer incentives and say that tax saving or whatever, because now designers and managers can work very easily because of the connectivity of internet. So in fact, I would be able to sit on a Goa beach and design something and send it to a Bombay office, and they would translate it and send it back. And the basic availability of materials has also improved now all over the country. So if in my furniture workshop, if plywood and wood and finishing materials and all were only available in Mumbai, and even in, say, another metro like Calcutta, they would say, nahi, nahi, ye to Bombay se lana padega. That is an old story, and now smaller towns also carry the same raw materials. So just shared my thoughts. Excuse me if they got too technical, but do forward them to friends or people that you think could do something in this, and perhaps we could rally together. Thank you.